What is up, Turbo Zoners? Axel here with another review for the Turbo Zone. With Halloween just passing and me finishing Metroid Dread, I was really itching to play some more side-scrolling, monster-slaying Metroidvania goodness. So I thought to myself, why not play one of the Castlevania games that I never got a chance to play? I just finished watching the Season 2 of Castlevania on Netflix, which is excellent by the way. And so I decided to check out Castlevania Aria of Sorrow for the Gameboy Advance. For whatever reason, the handheld Castlevania games just always seemed to elude me growing up, and so I took this opportunity to give one a go. This game came out in 2003 on the Game Boy Advance. 2003, man. In 2003 I was living it up somewhere on a beach, drinking and partying all night, sleeping all day. Wait, fuck, that wasn't me. In 2003 I just moved into an efficiency apartment, working a miserable job. Ah, the good old days. One of the things that was great in 2003 were the games. Games like Max Payne 2, True Crime, Simpsons Hit and Run, Deus Ex, Invisible War, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, Prince of Persia, and many, many more. Great games were flowing in 2003, so it's no wonder I never got around to this game. So what are my thoughts on this game? Does this 2003 GBA game hold up today? Let's find out. Castlevania Aria of Sorrow takes place in Japan in the year 2035. Unlike the other Castlevania games that I've played, you don't play as a vampire hunter. Instead, you play as a student named Soma Cruz. Soma and his friend Mina are heading to watch a solar eclipse when shit hits the fan. Soma suddenly finds himself in Dracula's castle, only to discover that Dracula has died and his powers were sealed inside the eclipse. Right out the gate, you start to run into suspicious characters who have found themselves in the castle as well. From a girl named Yoko, who kind of acts as your guide early on, to a guy named Hammer, who just wants to make some easy cash. You quickly find out that some of them believe they are the reincarnation of Dracula and that they want his powers. When I started the game, I was impressed with the game's graphics. Although I wasn't playing this on the Game Boy Advance, this is definitely one of the best looking games for the Game Boy Advance. Soma looks good, but it's the enemies and the environments that really stood out. Speaking of enemies, you've ever played a Castlevania game, you know they strive at having crazy enemies. Giant skeletons, zombie soldiers, mermen, witches, succubuses, floating swords, flaming horses, giant golems, and so much more. Castlevania have always been great with enemy variety. I think the enemies I enjoyed other than the bosses were the skeleton samurais that you had to attack at a certain time or they would counter, and the giant skeleton torsos that would just crawl at you. The enemies that pissed me off, and usually are always the pain in the ass in these games, were the floating Medusa heads and the damn tiny jumping leprechaun looking dudes. Trying to get from a platform to another platform with those bastards around was a nightmare, especially considering they keep respawning unlike most of the other creatures in the game. One of the cool things in this game that I have experienced before while I was playing Bloodstained is the soul system. Soma finds out that he can absorb the souls of the monster he kills and use their powers. So when you kill an enemy, there's a chance that you can get their ability. With this, you get red, blue, and yellow souls. Red souls are essentially attacks you can use by holding up and hitting the attack button. Blue souls are abilities to help you traverse areas, like being able to hover while you're flying or turning yourself into a giant bat. Yellow souls give you attribute buffs and also have some abilities that help you traverse levels, like being able to walk on water. Most of these souls do cost MP when you use them, but you're able to swap them out anytime you want. One of my favorite areas in this game is the underwater and ice areas. After you get the souls to allow you to walk on water and walk underwater, you can constantly switch between these two souls to make it through the areas. It was a fun little mechanic in the game. As far as the story goes, I feel this game did a pretty decent job. There were no real crazy curveballs thrown at you, since from the beginning you kinda know who the villain will end up being. But when I did run into other people in the castle, I was interested in what they had to say. And that makes another thing. You go to a castle filled with monsters, everyone you meet is just like, hey, I have something to do, I'll see you later. And somehow Soma doesn't freak out and ask millions of questions. Guess it's just one of those Castlevania tropes. The Resident Evil games do this as well. As I was saying earlier, there is a merchant in the game named Hammer that you can buy potions, weapons, armor, and even maps from. I did buy a couple of swords and armor from him, but I mostly found the good gear through my travels in the castle. He also sells potions to cure poison and stuff, but I never needed any of those. I don't think I used a poison potion at all during the game. Usually when you get poisoned, it wears off in a few seconds. The game also uses a fast travel system that comes in handy when you need to head back to Hammer to buy you some potions. The backtracking in this game didn't bother me, and I'm not sure if the other games were this way since I haven't played them in forever, but in this game, the enemies in the areas you've already been are still their base levels. So when you run into those pesky zombies and bats, they barely do any damage to you and you kill them with one hit. This I did enjoy because you feel like your leveling up actually matters. If I had any complaints about this game, it's that towards the end of the game you get some neat weapons and abilities, but as soon as you get started using them, the game is over. Also, I did get lost a couple of times, which while fighting my way around to find where I needed to go, I feel like I kinda over leveled myself to where some of the bosses were too easy to defeat, including the final boss. All in all, this is a great Castlevania game that I feel combines all the good things a Metroidvania needs with some new ideas like the Soul system. Certainly one of the best Game Boy Advance games, and I regret not picking this up when it came out. I finished this game at level 36 in just over 6 hours with 89.1% map completion. If I had to give this game a score, I would say a 5 Castlevania 64s out of 5 Lords of Shadows. An excellent game, and I can't wait to play the sequel.